My fingers traced the delicate lace of my nightgown, a slow, appreciative gesture against my skin. The house was quiet, the kind of silence that settles in late at night, wrapping around you like a soft blanket. A contented sigh escaped my lips. I'd enjoyed a long, luxurious bath, the lavender scent still clinging faintly to the air and my skin. Now, nestled in my favorite armchair with a cup of chamomile tea, I felt utterly at peace. It was one of those rare evenings where the world outside seemed to fade away, leaving only the quiet hum of contentment within these walls. The soft glow of the lamp beside me cast long shadows across the room, highlighting the familiar shapes of my furniture. I closed my eyes for a moment, savoring the tranquility. This was my sanctuary, my haven. After all these years, living alone had become a comfortable rhythm, a predictable pattern of quiet evenings and peaceful mornings. Just as I was drifting into a pleasant reverie, the gentle vibration of my phone on the side table startled me. I reached for it, a little annoyed at the interruption. It was a text message. I squinted at the screen, the bright light momentarily jarring. It was from Lucas, Mrs. Henderson's son, who lived next door. Lucas was a nice young man, always polite and helpful, often checking in on me or helping his mother with things around her house. He was probably in his late 20s, maybe early 30s. The message read, "Hey Avery, Ethan and I are just down the street. Would it be all right if we stopped by for a quick drink? We won't stay long." Ethan. That would be Ethan Miller, another young man I'd seen around occasionally, usually with Lucas. I wasn't expecting company, especially not at this hour. It was nearly 11 o'clock. I was already in my nightgown, and honestly, I wasn't really in the mood for socializing. My initial thought was to ignore the message, to pretend I hadn't seen it and hope they'd get the hint. But then, another message popped up from Lucas. "Come on, don't be a stranger. It's been ages. Just one drink, promise." A small smile touched my lips despite myself. Lucas had a way of being persistent without being annoying. He knew how to get under my skin with his playful teasing. It had been a while since I'd had any company, and the thought of a little unexpected conversation wasn't entirely unwelcome. I hesitated for a moment longer, then typed back a reply. "All right, Lucas, but just one drink, and don't expect me to be dressed to the nines." 15 minutes later, I stood in my living room, a glass of white wine in hand. I'd quickly changed into a comfortable but presentable sweater and a pair of leggings. The doorbell rang and a flutter of nervous anticipation stirred in my chest. As I reached for the doorknob, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't going to be just a casual visit. There was something in Lucas's messages, a certain tone, that hinted at more. The moment I opened the door, I felt a shift in the atmosphere. Lucas stood there with a wide, almost mischievous grin. His eyes flickered over me in a way that made me slightly self-conscious, a look I hadn't quite seen from him before. Behind him stood Ethan, his expression more reserved, but his eyes held a certain intensity as they met mine. Their presence seemed to fill the doorway, heavier and more significant than I'd anticipated for a simple late-night drink. "Avery, you look great!" Lucas exclaimed, stepping inside with a confidence I hadn't noticed before. Ethan followed, offering a polite nod. They moved into my living room with an ease that suggested they were more than just casual acquaintances dropping by. Come in," I said, trying to sound casual, though my heart was doing a little flutter kick against my ribs. I gestured towards the sofa. "Make yourselves comfortable." I placed my wine glass on the coffee table and went to the small bar cart to offer them a drink. "What can I get you two?" "We brought our own," Lucas said, holding up a bottle of bourbon with a playful wink. Ethan held up a 6-pack of beer. "Well, all right then," I chuckled, feeling a little more at ease. I poured myself another glass of wine, my fingers lingering on the cool stem. Their voices hummed around me as they settled onto the sofa, But I wasn't really focusing on the conversation. The air felt charged, thicker than usual, not just from the late hour, but from their presence. Lucas stretched out on the sofa, his movements relaxed, almost languid, like he had all the time in the world. Ethan sat beside him, his gaze occasionally drifting towards me, a quiet intensity in his eyes. "Didn't think you'd actually say yes," Lucas mused, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. "Figured you'd tell us to take our party elsewhere." I scoffed playfully, lifting my wine glass. "I almost did." Ethan leaned forward slightly, his sharp eyes tilted. "So, why didn't you?" I met his gaze over the rim of my glass, a small, enigmatic smile playing on my lips. I didn't answer, letting the silence hang in the air for a moment. A quiet smirk touched Ethan's lips before he leaned back, seemingly unconcerned. Lucas chuckled, taking a sip of his bourbon. "You always this quiet, Avery?" I exhaled softly. "Depends on the company." "And what kind of company are we?" Lucas's grin widened. I should have laughed it off, made a light-hearted remark, but something held me back. As I reached across the table to offer them some snacks, my hand brushed against Lucas's. The touch was brief, but it lingered for a fraction of a second longer than necessary. Neither of us moved away immediately. A strange current seemed to pass between us before I finally pulled my hand back, a little flustered. "Relax, Avery," Lucas murmured, his voice dipping a little lower. "We're just having a drink." His fingers tapped against the rim of his glass, slow and deliberate. But the ice had already cracked, and I knew deep down that there was no turning back. The wine had begun to warm my veins, but it wasn't just the alcohol making me feel flushed. It was them, the way they were looking at me, the undeniable attention that seemed to envelop me. Every glance felt heavier, more significant than before. I ran a slow fingertip over the rim of my glass, a nervous habit, just to feel something solid beneath my touch. "You're quiet," Ethan murmured, his voice low and husky, just loud enough for me to hear over the soft music playing in the background. I tilted my head, a small teasing smirk playing on my lips. "Observant, aren't you?" He held my gaze, a hint of a smile touching his lips. "Didn't expect that from someone who invited us in this late." I let my eyes flick between them, feeling the weight of their combined attention. It was a little unnerving, but also exhilarating. I didn't shrink away from it. I let them look. "Maybe you don't know what to expect from me," I said softly. A low hum of approval rumbled from Lucas across the room. "I think we're starting to." As Lucas reached for the bourbon bottle to refill his glass, his fingers brushed the inside of my thigh, just above my knee. It wasn't an accident. I could have ignored it, could have shifted away, broken the moment before it went any further. But I didn't. Instead, almost imperceptibly, I parted my legs just enough for him to notice. His breath hitched just a fraction, but I caught it. The corner of his lips curled into a slow, knowing smile. "She likes a little trouble," Ethan murmured, his voice a low rumble. It wasn't a question. It was a statement of fact. Lucas's hand slid a little higher, his fingers teasing just beneath the hem of my sweater. My pulse jumped, but I didn't stop him. I leaned in slightly, a silent invitation, and then his lips brushed against mine, just once, a fleeting touch, just enough to feel the warmth of him, the taste of bourbon lingering between us. I tilted my chin up, parting my lips slightly, a clearer invitation this time. And then the restraint shattered. The kiss deepened, becoming more urgent, more unrestrained. His hand tightened against my thigh as my breath hitched. My fingers curled into the fabric of his shirt, pulling him closer, letting him take what he wanted. I felt a presence shift beside me. Ethan. I felt the weight of his gaze, the way the air thickened around us. I knew we weren't alone, and a thrill, a forbidden excitement coursed through me. The warmth of Lucas's kiss still tingled on my lips, a quiet hum beneath my skin. But before I could fully catch my breath, Ethan moved in closer, his movements more deliberate. A slow inhale escaped my lips as his lips brushed the curve of my neck, lingering, testing. Each breath sent the faintest shiver along my spine, a whisper of warmth and anticipation curling through me. His hands, strong and sure, trailed along my sides, their touch weightless, yet intentional. A feather-light press of fingertips traced the dip of my waist, a silent exploration that left my stomach tightening in response. A soft exhale parted my lips. My body was acutely aware of every shift, every movement surrounding me. Another touch, this time lower, the faintest graze against my other thigh. The gesture was unhurried, testing the space between us, lingering just enough to leave a question in its wake. The answer was already clear. A low murmur stirred the air near my ear. Lucas's voice laced with quiet amusement. "Told you she'd love this." I didn't need to speak. My body had already answered. My breath came quicker as I leaned into them, drawn by the weight of their presence, the way their hands wandered, each touch unhurried yet deliberate. A slow path of lips trailed over my shoulder, following the curve of my collarbone. A teasing scrape of teeth sent a ripple through me, a sensation that deepened as Ethan's fingertips followed, leaving behind a map of warmth and quiet tension. In the blur of movement and the press of bodies, my fingers sought him. One of them, I wasn't even sure who anymore. But I felt the sharp inhale beneath my palm, the way his muscles tensed under my touch. And just like that, something shifted. No hesitation, no second guessing. I was surrounded, enveloped in a space where instinct took over, where every glance exchanged between them carried an unspoken agreement. Their hands explored, memorizing, learning. The moment unraveled slowly, seamlessly, and immersively, leaving nothing but sensation. A shift. 1 second I was against the couch, the next. Steady hands guided me upward. My body followed without thought, the movement effortless, unhurried. A softer surface met my back before I even registered the change. A bed. A quiet breath slipped past my lips, my pulse thrumming beneath my skin. But before I could even take another breath, they were with me again. And this time the moment had no barriers left to hold it back. The bed barely had time to settle beneath me before warmth surrounded me, drawing me deeper into the moment. Lips met mine, unhurried at first, then growing more certain, a silent conversation carried in every movement. The gentle pressure of fingers traced along my sweater, easing the fabric aside with measured intent. A slow shiver coursed through me as the material slipped away, gliding over my skin before it rested somewhere unseen. The shift in sensation made my breath catch, anticipation threading through every inch of me. I exhaled softly, letting my head sink back as a quiet murmur brushed against my ear. Lucas's voice, low and smooth, threaded with something undeniable, even better than I imagined. A warmth stirred deep inside me as their hands explored, unhurried yet deliberate, mapping the contours of my form with careful reverence. My fingers curled into the sheets as their touch deepened, the movements seamless, as if they had always known me this way. The steady press of Ethan's hands against my waist anchored me, grounding me in the rising intensity between us. A slow inhale, a breath released in measured control, and then a heat spread through me, deliberate and encompassing, settling into my very core, making my senses sharpen, my awareness heighten. The rhythm of their touch shifted, measured yet certain, every movement flowing effortlessly into the next, drawing me into a connection that felt both new and familiar all at once. Lips found mine again, capturing the quiet sounds that slipped between us. Lucas's firm hand tilted my chin, his thumb grazing along my bottom lip, an unspoken invitation waiting for a response. I answered without hesitation, deepening the connection, allowing the warmth to build between us. Ethan's fingers combed through my hair, drawing me closer, breaths mingling in the space between us. The energy between us coalesced into something seamless. Everything felt fluid, instinctive, effortless. A deep inhale left Lucas as he lingered for a moment, letting the weight of the sensation settle before easing away. The warmth still pulsed beneath my skin, my body attuned to every shift. A moment passed, just enough for anticipation to bloom again, before Ethan took over, his touch different yet equally certain, setting a new rhythm. This time, the pace was exploratory, savoring, appreciating, making every second stretch with intent. A quiet sound left me, my fingers curling against the fabric beneath me as I yielded to the shift, letting them guide me through every new sensation. The bed shifted beneath us, the air thick with warmth, the energy moving between us palpable. Lucas leaned in, his breath teasing the sensitive skin near my ear, the words spoken smooth and certain, carrying a quiet promise. "We're just getting started." Ethan's fingers drifted along my arm, grounding me in the moment. Another kiss, deeper this time, more knowing, set a new tempo, pulling me further into the indulgence of it all. I allowed myself to be guided effortlessly, surrendering to the pull, to the way their movements aligned, attuned, every transition smooth and fluid. There was no rush, no hesitation. Every part of me was surrounded, immersed, held in the warmth of them. Hands glided lower, deliberate yet patient, mapping the curves of my body with quiet appreciation, ensuring that every touch, every shift resonated fully. Lucas's mouth traced a slow path along my shoulder, lingering in the hollow just below, sending a quiet shiver through me. I was lost in it, the shifting momentum, the way everything aligned in perfect harmony, as though it had always been meant to be this way. There was no stopping now. The movement grew more consuming, the energy between us building, drawing me higher, carrying me deeper. A slow breath hitched in my throat as their hands traced along my form, the connection between us deepening, every motion flowing seamlessly into the next. Ethan moved lower, his fingers pressing gently, coaxing me to remain exactly where I was, ensuring that I felt every nuance of the moment. A satisfied murmur filled the space around us as the intensity climbed, every shift in pace carrying an unspoken understanding. The warmth spread deeper, growing, threading through every inch of me, taking hold completely. A deep, reverberating sound left Lucas as my body responded, drawn into every lingering touch, every wave of sensation. The moment expanded, all-consuming, pulling me fully into its grasp. I let go completely, allowing the tension to dissolve, unraveling in waves that coursed through me. Every part of me attuned to the rhythm between us. The warmth lingered, refusing to fade, moving through me in steady pulses, unrelenting in its hold, carrying me further until everything slowed, everything settled, everything stilled. I collapsed onto the sheets, chest rising and falling, my breath still unsteady, my body still humming with the weight of everything we had shared. Soft touches still drifted along my skin, lazy, indulgent, as though they weren't quite ready to let go. Ethan's fingers trailed idly over my hip, tracing delicate patterns as if imprinting the moment into memory. Lucas pressed a lingering kiss against my shoulder, settling close beside me, radiating warmth. A low voice, smooth and teasing, murmured near my ear. "Think that's enough for tonight?" Most people wouldn't even believe this could happen. But if it were you, would you stop it or let it unfold? Be honest. If you were in this moment, would you step away or stay right where you are, maybe even take it further? I want to hear it. Drop your answer in the comments. And before you go, don't forget to like this video and hit subscribe. It's free, takes just a second, and ensures you never miss what's coming next. Turn on the notification bell. Trust me, you won't want to be late for the next story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.